All right, let's get started and talk about chapter 12. Again, this is all about management and therapeutic recreation. That's the title of this class, so we got to remember that. Let me share my screen here. There we go. All right, so we're going to talk about creating a motivating work environment. What is going on here? Okay, they're there. I just don't know why they're not showing up on here. Obviously, when your work environment is motivating, it's going to be more productive, right? What sort of things motivate you guys in a work environment? Music. Yeah. For some people, if they can have like music playing, they're going to just work better. If I'm like, last time I was painting my house, I had music going the whole time and it kept me sane, because otherwise I'd have been like miserable out there. What else? What's the obvious?
Money.
Money. Everybody loves some money, right? So if you get a job, obviously you're going to get a paycheck, right? So what's motivating? What can make it motivating? How can you create a motivating work environment? Like incentive wise, when we're talking about money, we talked about how we need to be able to see how all of our employees are doing. Are they doing a good job? So we have to do what? Periodically. Yeah, like employee evaluations, where you sit down, you talk to them, and then what you need to do is make those count for something. Because I've worked at places where they did employee evaluations because it was in like the regs that they had to do it. However, just say it was on a 5-point scale. If I had a 1 and somebody else had a 5, if there was a raise to come, you know who would get a bigger raise? Neither. We'd get the same. Therefore, it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So doing your employee evaluations, if that can be part of the plan to increase productivity by the better you do, the more percentage of a raise you're going to get, something like that. So that's one way to create a motivating work environment. Also, who likes a pat on the back when you do a good job? I do. I mean, I don't need somebody walking around constantly praising me, but if you put a lot of work into something and you do a good job, just a simple little, hey, you did a really good job on that. I appreciate you. Thank you for all you do. Does that motivate you to do a better job next time? I mean, it's something that small that's that easy as a manager that you can do. That little statement is really gonna play a big part in how productive your employees may be. If they feel underappreciated and you never give them that little verbal pat on the back, you know, if they every time they put in for a day off, if it's turned down, what's that going to do to their morale? What's that going to do to their production? Okay. Is that a motivating work environment? Nope. I'm not saying every time somebody puts in for a day off that they need to get it. There's sometimes that you just may not be able to let somebody off because you've already let 4 people off and they put in first. Sorry. They can't hold that against you. They came to you last. They may not get the day off. Are they going to be pissed off? Probably, yeah. Is it going to affect them in the long run once you explain the situation? No, that's not killing your work environment. Trying to make it employee friendly is what you want to do. So motivation, as talked about on here, the amount and quality of work that you see put out and done by your employees, it's a direct reflection of your first line managers and the subordinates' motivation. And, you know, like we just talked about, we named several different things that are motivators. Not everybody's motivated by the same things. Motivation is the degree of readiness. Productivity is improved when an employee is turned on. quote, you know, activated. Let's use that instead, because we don't want to get inappropriate up in here. Motivation is the result of interaction between employee and the work situation. You know, if they're in a good work situation, they're happy. They're not dreading coming to work every day. They don't feel like they're going to get chewed out by their boss every day in front of the other employees and things like that. That's, you know, number one, they're going to be unmotivated. Number two, they're going to quit before long. People don't like that type thing. So how you handle issues has a lot to do with how motivated your people are too. As a manager, you need to create an environment that promotes job satisfaction, is sufficient in achieving your unit goals. You're getting the job done. You know, the things that you've laid out and said, this is what we got to get done, guys. You're achieving those, and you enable the professionals to achieve their goals. So you are actually talking with them. You are finding out what, you know, where do you want to be in 6 months? What's your long-term goal here? What do you think you could do to make this job more fulfilling to you? And then you give them the opportunity, if it's within reason, to do those things. You know, you want to give everybody opportunities to take on tasks and be successful and get those pats on the back. You don't want to give everything to one person because you trust that person. You're going to burn that person out. Everybody else is going to get lazy because they see they don't have to do anything. Don't do that. As far as work performance, motivation is a desire within a person to achieve a goal. We've all seen how motivation works. What happens on January 1st every year? Resolutions. People bust up in that gym and they knock the door open coming in there. What happens by about January 10th? They laying in the bed because what did they lose? They lost their motivation. They just couldn't, you know, something. What happened was they finally, they had one day. They said, man, I'm sore today. I'm just going to miss one day. I'm going to start back tomorrow. Bull, you're not. You might be, you know, across the grain, but most people, that's what happens. Their motivation wanes because they're not seeing, they hadn't lost 12 pounds in a week, and they hadn't improved their bench press by 20 pounds yet in 3 days. You know, they make these unrealistic goals. You don't reach them. When you don't reach the things that you have set out to do, you're going to lose your motivation. So that's, motivation is something that it's within people. You can't say, here, take this card. This is motivation. I want you to, or take this pill. That's full of motivation. It's going to help you out. We can't do that. Wish we could. You know what? You could get some productivity. They may come out with that one day. They probably got it on a patent for it by now. Your job environment enhances your extrinsic motivation. That's motivation from without instead of within. Intrinsic is what pushes you from the inside. You as a manager, by setting up, by giving pats on the back, by saying that what you do can affect the amount of a raise you get or the amount of your chance of moving up the ladder, things like that. You set up that stuff. That's outside influences that motivate people. You know, you're trying to teach a dog how to fetch. What do you use? Yeah, or how to sit. Most of them kind of will do a fetch on, most of them will do it on their own. You're trying to teach them how to roll over, you know, whatever. Treats, you just said it. You are holding a motivator, an extrinsic motivator in your hand, right? You are motivating them to do what they need to do according to expectations, right? So that's just giving you an example of what extrinsic is. So what you want to do, you want to create a job environment that's going to stimulate both internal and external drives to achieve goals. They want to do it for you, for the company, for the extrinsic benefits that they can get, such as raises, such as, positive reactions, such as, a bonus if you reach this certain threshold. Those are all external. And then if you are feeding them the right mixture of motivation from your end, it's going to help to stimulate their internal drive to want to do it themselves without being pushed. There's some theories out there that talk about, here we go, theories. I hate some theories, but we talk about them because they are valid. They explain employee motivation, productivity, and job satisfaction. All very important things because they're all tied together, don't you think? And you have all three of them, like if you don't have all three, you may not have any of them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're tied together pretty closely. Motivation is going to tie straight into productivity. And if you're productive, that's going to keep you motivated and you're going to feel satisfied, right? So, motivational theories. Maslow, we've heard of this name before. Come back to this slide if you have questions on the test about it, okay? Or in the book, easy to find. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've got a lot of needs that motivate people. But what we have to do as a manager, we identify where employee is along their development continuum. So are they a new employee? Where are they? What are they capable of doing? What are they trained to do? What do they know to, what can we expect of them, right? And we learn that everybody's different. And like I said, we're all motivated by different things, right? So we find out what everybody needs and we target those as a manager. So by targeting these specific things, then we're following this motivational theory of Maslow. We target the needs of the individuals. Everybody's going to have a different thing that's going to make them be productive and proactive. Clayton Alderfer's modified needs hierarchy. Existence, relatedness, and growth needs, those are the things that influence behavior in people as far as their motivation. That one's a little harder to comprehend as far as what he's trying to get at. It expands on it a little more in the book. Herzberg's two-factor theory. It talks about motivators or job satisfiers and maintenance factors. They satisfy but don't motivate. They're present in a work environment. Okay. Things that make you feel satisfied at the job don't necessarily motivate in the job. There's certain things. The fact that your job has a cafeteria available where you don't have to leave and go park somewhere else or something. That's something that is satisfying to you. It's there. It's not necessarily a motivator. It's not going to make you go in and work harder. You know what I'm saying on that? It's there. It's positive, but it's not a motivator. So there's different things. And maintenance factors, things like they're getting support by seeing that you're giving them the equipment they need to do the job thoroughly, that you're bringing in new technology. It's not necessarily a motivator, but what it does is it shows them that you care enough as a manager and as an administration to bring in good tools, to give them good support, which in turn is going to make their work environment more pleasant, more appealing. Therefore, they're more likely to work harder and be more motivated to do a good job because they see you trying to do your part from the outside. That's kind of what I'm seeing out of Herzberg's. I don't know why those four didn't show up on there, but if y'all go in, you should be able to click on it just like I am, and they should show up. I don't know why they're blank on this particular page. Skinner, another, these guys are psychology people. Maslow, Skinner. Positive reinforcement. Everybody loves positive reinforcement. That explains that increase, you see an increase in work behaviors with managerial praise. We already talked about that. You know, pat on the back. I'm going to go do that again because I want another pat on the back. Everybody likes that. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. You like to get, it doesn't have to be over the top, but if just to at least be acknowledged from your boss or from your supervisor that, hey, I appreciate what you did and you did a good job. That sure as heck motivates me. I don't need them to just dote on me for 2 hours. Something real small like that is enough, you know. I'm not even going to say this next one, arduous. Yes, I am going to say it. See, maturity/immaturity continuum. People vary in maturity. We know that. That comes down to the point of how we need to know our employees. And as a manager, we need to care enough to kind of learn some details about people and see how they work. Are they outgoing? Are they more quiet? Do they like to be the life of the party? Or are they going to be the ones who are going to kind of sit back? Do they go out and are they the ones that want to try something for the first time? Or do they want to see somebody else do it first and then do it? You know, you see where somebody is and their maturity level on the job. Okay. And people vary in that level of maturity. So we need to, as a manager, identify what level they're at and help them meet their needs based on, this is just knowing our employees, right? It shows if we take the time, they see us trying to learn and to treat each employee individually as much as we can. Now, slippery slope. You see where that's slippery? When I just said treat each employee individually, what are employees going to say? Yeah, that's favoritism. He let her do this, but made me do this. It can't be on major structural, not the way you do things. We're talking about what motivates different people. We're talking about getting to know your people. Let them know that you care about what they do, that sort of thing. You have to treat them as individuals, however they need to be evaluated along the same lines. That kind of keeps you away from that favoritism that one will put you on that slope to if you let it. McClellan had a 3 needs theory: achievement, affiliation, and power. Those are the things that McClellan says guides people's actions. And as a manager, we need to determine which one of those 3 items are the driving force for that employee. And that's how we deal with that employee. Do you see kind of what I'm saying on that? You look at each one and say, are they driven by getting things done, by achieving things? Are they driven by affiliation, by being part of the group, by being accepted? Are they driven by having a certain degree of power to make choices and things? What is their driving factor? We need to find that out, know what motivates them, and try to give them roles that will allow them to go off of what is their motivator. McGregor's theory X and theory Y. I swear I think we've talked about this before. If not in here, it was in 262 maybe. Staff desired direction is X. Okay. That's saying they want me to tell them what to do. Or Y, manager assumes that people like to work, have self-control to commit to work. I would want my manager to be, okay, what would you guys want for your manager, X or Y? Do you want direction, or do you want your manager to assume that you like to work, have self-control to commit to doing the work yourself? See, people are, and you say that, and I guarantee you there's several in here that would say they want Y. It's kind of, you know, the thing here, you can, you know, I see X and the first thing that comes to my mind is like micromanager. Nobody wants a micromanager that's just gonna be on you every step of the way, like, did you do this? Are you doing this? How'd you do this? Why did you do this? You know, like, that's, you can provide direction without being a micromanager, right? I think that most staff, and from what I see, they come in and they want to start out with McGregor X. They want direction. They want clear, concise, easy to follow directions of this is what is expected of me. This is how we do things here. This is what we're going to do. This is your timeline. But as they have been there for a little while, they learn the gig, they see what's going on. They want to, at that point, move toward why, right? Because now I know what I'm doing. Now, this is my job responsibilities. I understand them. You have given me direction. And now let's move to why, and you let me do my job. Right? Doesn't that make sense for most of you? Is that how, I mean, you need direction up front. That's what like orientation is for. When you get a new job, you're getting direction. That initial meeting you have with your boss and your staff meetings you have on a weekly basis and things, that gives you direction. But once you know what you're doing, most people are more motivated by being left to do what they know how to do. Vrooms, man, that's like what are those words called that are spelled how they sound? Yeah, I think that's kind of like buzz, one of those vroom, that expectancy theory. Need satisfaction, we all have needs. They're all different. We want those to be satisfied. That's just common sense. We know that. Need satisfaction, employees' perceptions and expectations are going to influence outcomes. Are their needs being satisfied? How are they perceiving things in the workplace in regards to what they expected? So what that comes down to, you give them clear expectations. You don't, when they come in for an interview or something, you don't give them a false narrative of what working for you is going to be like. You don't do that. Your employees' perceptions and expectations, if they match and they're having their needs met, then you're going to have good outcomes. Your managers need to explain expectations, future outcomes, and the value of the outcomes. And a lot of times when we, because what's the questions? I sure wouldn't like it if I'm a manager and I say, this is what we're going to do. Well, my kids do this to me all the time. What do you think they ask me when I say, all right, we need to do this? Ding, ding, gold star. Why? That's basically what this is saying right here, y'all. The value of the outcomes. You're telling them the why. You explain, this is what is expected. This is what I look to happen. And this is why I want this to happen, because this is the outcome we want. So you're laying all that out there. Another theory, the equity theory, relationship between effort and reward and comparisons to other employees. Equity is about treating people the same, right? Everybody having a fair shake. Managers create equitable situations to motivate staff. Everybody feels like they're on an equal playing field. Everybody feels like they have the equal chance to be promoted. Everybody feels like they are getting equivalent workloads. Everybody feels like what they're being asked to do is fair. You want to do all those things. That sets up a situation. If it's equitable, it's going to motivate your staff. Everybody feels like nobody feels like they're being picked on. They don't feel like they're seeing favoritism. That is very non-motivating. When you feel like you are the one that is not getting that preferential treatment, you will not be motivated. If you've ever been in that situation, if you have not, you may be one day. And you'll see. You'll remember me saying that when you're in that situation. Goal setting theories. That theory is all about employees are motivated by goals that are, quote, specific, challenging, and have incentives or rewards. I would be, right? Specific, you know exactly what's expected. Challenging, you are sufficiently challenged that it keeps you, we talk about in recreation therapy participation, we want our clients to hit that sweet spot where all you're thinking about is the activity, right? Flow. Almost the same thing with work. You want them to be sufficiently challenged to where they are engaged and not bored at work, right? And incentives and rewards are also very motivating. So the manager informs the employees of what's expected and the rewards that are relevant to expectations. If this happens, if A happens, then B will be the reward. That's very motivating. That is team building in nature, especially if it's like, gosh, I had things where when I was over the city pool, I'd be like, all right, let's have no incidents this week of actually, let's keep an eye on this pool deck. Let's not have to jump in and make any saves this week, guys, because at the city pool, it happens fairly regularly, but 95% of the time, if you are really watching, I know that the lifeguard's goal is to watch the water and to watch the pool. If your goal is to watch the surroundings as well. If you're watching the surroundings, you can stop probably 95% of the times that you would have to jump in to make a save. So I would say something like, guys, let's go all week this week and not have to jump in and make any saves, because that makes me happy, because that means we're catching things ahead of time. And I say, and if we can do that Friday after the pool party happens, that we're guarding, I'm going to come in and bring y'all pizza, something like that. It's not big, but it's a gesture of, this is our goal. We want to have to make no in-water saves. If that happens, I'll bring y'all all dinner. It's not a big thing, but it's funny how they would work for that. A small little reward. It didn't cost me a ton of money to do that. It was worth it to me because, my worst nightmare when I was over the pool was finding the blue guy on the bottom, and we don't ever want to do that. So I'm willing to buy some pizza if we're not going, we don't want that. We're going to call this guy Ouchie. That's probably not how it's said. Ouchie's Theory Z. We want to increase productivity through participatory management. You're going to be involved. You're not sitting back pointing, you do this, participatory management. Including your employees. I like this one, y'all. Participatory management. You're involved in what's going on. You're out there amongst the group. They feel like, although you're the manager, you're still part of the team, right? Collective decision making. We talked about when we are treating patients, what do? We have interviews, we do assessments, we talk to them, we find out what they like to do. And then we talk to them when we're trying to set goals and objectives about planning their intervention, right? We want them to have some say in what we're doing, right? Because when they have say in their treatment plan, they're going to be more bought into what we're doing. They're going to try harder. They're going to say, hey, I had a stake in planning this. We decided this together. So they'll be motivated as patients. Same thing in the workforce, in the workplace. When you give them the opportunity to have collective decision making, where you have, a team meeting and you at least throw it out there to the team. Now, if everybody makes a decision, you're the manager. You're the one that's going to have to answer to the manager above you. Do you have to go with what they say? you have to go with what the person above you says? Do you have to go, if you have a team meeting with the people who work for you and you're trying to help make decisions and you throw it out there, what do you guys think? And they all give you one thing. Now this sets up for a little bit of, you might have to do some damage control if you go a different direction. But will they still appreciate the fact that you let them have a discussion with you rather than just saying, this is what we're doing? You know, collective decision making. Because you can say, look, I understand where y'all are coming from, but what I've been told from above is we have to go by this. And so you're able to at least explain. You've given them a chance to, you've heard what they have to say. You're not just that dictator that's telling them this is how it goes. And that you're fostering team effort by doing that, by letting everybody be engaged and part of decision-making process. So your challenge as a manager, as far as trying to create a motivating work environment, engage staff in experiences that, sorry, I had an internal curse word right then because of my watch again. Engage your staff in experiences that result in the need for fulfillment. You know, that again comes down to learning your employees, learning about them, seeing what makes them tick, seeing whether they're a team type player or whether they like individual projects, whether, you know, are they, what kind of experiences do you need to give them that are going to make them feel fulfilled? You know, we want to set our rec therapy patients up for success. We want to set our employees up for success too. And that's what this is talking about. You also want to create a work environment that is supportive of personal satisfaction and achievement of unit goals. So not only do you want to make sure that your overall unit goals are being reached, that's really, as a manager, that's your number one thing. You got to make sure that you are being productive, that your patients are being cared for, that safety is there, that your you know, hiring practices are done in the right way, that everybody's being treated with equity, things like that. But you also want to be supportive of people doing things that are going to give them personal satisfaction as long as they fit into that framework. That's kind of, hopefully that's easy to follow. So we talked a little bit about intrinsic versus extrinsic, and it's exactly what you think. Intrinsic are things that are things that come from inside, internal. Extrinsic are motivators that are coming from external sources. So the intrinsic ones that they list here: compassion, satisfaction, meeting client needs. I talked in 262 today about working with patients with cerebral palsy. I'm breaking off of management for a minute, but I'm speaking from somebody was my manager at the time and I was an employee. An intrinsic motivator for me was meeting clients' needs. One of my favorite things to do was to work with individuals with cerebral palsy who had, you know, severe muscle spasms. I would get them in our warm water aquatic therapy pool, and I would see their arms go from, after an aquatic therapy session, go from being drawn up like this to like that by the end, because they would relax. And think about how tight those muscles are and how much better they felt at the end of the thing. Intrinsically, I was meeting client needs. That gave me great intrinsic motivation to get in that pool every day and do that. Okay. Social interaction among team members. That's an intrinsic motivator. Making a difference in people's lives. In recreation therapy, if you don't care about that at all, then you're in the wrong profession, looking down the wrong lane. You know, if you don't care about making a difference, need to self-reflect a little bit. Contributing to a greater cause. And then there's extrinsic motivators like money, praise, awards, incentives, advancement, professional development. That could be like Just like an extrinsic motivator as far as professional development is the fact that with my job here, I get, I don't remember exactly, even I think $2,000 a year for like conferences to go get CEUs, and because they see the value in continuing education. Do I go? Do I get my CEUs? Do I get some of that added education? Absolutely. Do I also get to get away for a few days and enjoy a trip to a place that I'm not always at? Absolutely. That is an extrinsic motivator to me. And I didn't have to pay the money out of my pocket. You know, it's not just them saying, hey, you can go to conferences. You just have to figure out, you know, you have to pay your own way. They give me money to do that. That is a good extrinsic motivator. It's not part of my salary. It's just there. Managerial motivators. You want to create a positive, supportive work culture and climate. Obviously, if your patients, I mean, if your employees don't feel that, if they don't feel like it's a positive and supportive work environment and culture, they're not going to be very motivated. They're going to be, what are they going to, are they going to be excited to come to work every day? No, they're going to dread coming to work every day. When your employees dread coming to work every day, let me tell you, there will not be much motivation to be found. And your productivity will also decline drastically because nobody's motivated. So what you need to do, you need to provide supervision. You have to actually see what people are doing. Recognition. That's what I was talking about, where you say, hey, good job. I saw what you did there. Because you supervised it and then you recognized it. And create interesting jobs. That keeps, by creating or giving the opportunity for people to think outside the box and keep their jobs interesting, then that's going to be a way as a manager that you can be motivating to your employees. Interpersonal relationships with your employees, they promote personal and professional balance and growth and unique values and needs of each employee. That's what I'm saying. You need to get to know your employees enough to where you know what motivates Hunter, what motivates Sarah, because it's going to be most likely something different. You know, I've talked about this before. Coaches are, you know, like when you're playing team sports in high school, coaches are, they're your manager, right? They're in charge of what you're doing on the field. Their big thing that they need to do is motivate you, right? Some people are motivated by that coach that gets right up in their face and yells and screams and pushes them, and they're going to go out and rip somebody's head off on the next play because that motivated them. It makes me want to, like, say I was playing line and the coach did that to me, I'd probably just lay and let them just kill the quarterback on the next play, because that is the least motivating thing that a coach could have done for me. Different people are motivated by different things. Coaches don't usually treat their players, you know, they're not going to give me some one way, but in the workplace you can kind of do that. It's not treating people different, y'all. You have to try to treat people the same, but you have to know what makes people tick. You have to know your employees well enough by spending a little bit of time just talking to them and being friendly and being around and watching and observing and seeing how they interact with folks and seeing what makes them smile and seeing all those things. You need to know what makes them tick. You know, what are their values? What do they see as the most important thing that they're trying to get done? So that's what it's all about. You need to get to know your employees for sure. Sometimes creating a motivational work site is not necessarily the easiest thing. There's challenges that can be in the way. We see things like sometimes you have decreased resources. I saw this firsthand at NMRC. when I was there. When I first started, I've told y'all this before, I think it was land of honey. We had money out the wazoo. We had tons of state funding. We had plenty of staff. We had plenty of vehicles. We had plenty of everything. Support from legislators and just everything you needed to thrive. And in recreation therapy, it opened the door for us to do almost anything we wanted to do, you know. And then I saw through time, budget being cut. Cut. Before long, our resources were being drastically reduced. You know, we didn't have access to a lot of the things that we had access to before. So if you are a manager and you are saying, you know, you're pushing for increased productivity while resources are being cut, like the budget and equipment and things like that, is that really very fair? Does it make sense even, you know? Now, is it okay for you to challenge your employees to think outside the box and come up with ways that we can provide the same, at least equivalent amount of what we were given? I think you can ask them for that. Come on, y'all, help me think of some ways that we can serve these people and give them the care that they've been getting. We don't want to see a drop off in what we're offering, but you can't ask them to increase production necessarily when you're seeing a big drop off in what you have. That it would be overstepping and over pushing and would be very demotivating. Now, I think it's fair to say that we need to keep what we're offering at the level that we've always offered. That's what is owed to the patients, you know. Something else that you see, blending up of professional roles and relocation of services. It's just kind of like job descriptions changing. It's kind of what that amounts to, you know. Sometimes some things that you may have done may be shifted to another department or to another employee. That if you take away something that somebody really enjoyed from their job, you just demotivated them. So you got to look at things like that. Something else, the workforce is becoming globally and generationally diverse. So what does that do to the overall feel in the workplace, you think? Just comfort level, communication level. What is this doing? Well, it's a good thing that it's happening. However, what does a 22-year-old coming straight out of college have in common with a 60-year-old that's going to retire next year? They got a lot to talk about at work? Probably not. If you have someone from another country who has a little bit of trouble with English language still, is it going to be easy to communicate with that person? No. So you would have to think outside the box as far as creating a motivating environment, because you want your team to be a team. You want them to get along. You want them to have things in common. You want them to communicate. And if these things are challenges to that, when you start seeing these generational gaps that have different interests, you know, and speak different languages and things like that. Everybody's different. Tangibles and intangibles both motivate. Tangibles are something you can hold. You know, it's a tangible item. Intangibles are things that you can't hold. It's something that's there, but it's not something that you could just hand somebody. Flex time is an example of something that is tangible. It's like something that you're allowed to, okay, my child has football practice at 3:00 today. I got to get him there because his mother's out of town. Can I come in at 6:00 tomorrow rather than 8 and take off at 3? You're allowing flex time. That's not hurting anything, right? It would motivate that person to do a good job for you. because you gave them that tangible motivator by letting them have flex time. Personal development options like mentoring are said to be intangible. It's not really something that changes your daily schedule or something like that. That's you spending time with them, mentoring. That's giving them options for personal development and professional development. Another thing that can make this comes in again with like the generational differences. Technology creates access to information and resources. Absolutely. If I want to change a spark plug in a 1972 Datsun, I can get on YouTube and find out where to find it, how to do it, where to find one. I mean, you can find information on everything, y'all. And I know how to do that. But Bertha, she doesn't even know how to unlock her iPhone because of the generation gap there, okay? She's overwhelmed. I love the fact that there's information resources everywhere and that we have them on the job. And I've given you all these websites and things that you can go to. And we're gonna do this electronically instead of on paper. And Bertha's gonna get pissed off about that too, because she likes paper because that's how she's always done it. Technology is a great thing for a lot of people, but it can give you so much information overload for people who aren't kind of looking for that sort of thing. So you have to watch out to not hit people with this information overload situation. Any questions on this? I believe that was the last one for this chapter. And this test that you will get on the way out today is shorter. It's not going to be worth as many points. I do believe that it's easier. I didn't go through and look today before I brought it. I already had it print out. I think also again this time that they're pretty much in order, that you will find them in the book, because I'm a nice guy like that. Maybe I'm not lying. Hopefully they're in that order since I just said that. Do well on that. Enjoy your time on Tuesday. And I will see you guys with this completed next Thursday. I might, y'all, go in. What do y'all think about perhaps maybe making the dates for, I might make the personnel management and the departmental budget, which are the next two steps in this plan, due on the same date. It would give you more time because some of you guys have changed your plan and you're having to play catch up a little bit. I think I may go in and change the due date for the personnel management to the due date of the budget, and they'll both be due at the same time. That will give you longer, but don't put it off and then have to do two of them all at once. Does that sound good to y'all, or would you rather keep it like it is? I'm going to include you guys in the decision-making process where you will feel motivated.
It sounds good to me, personally. I can space it out.
Anybody have a big problem with that? You can still.
Specs will be due when the budget's due, which is like.
On the budget date, yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Something like that, yeah. Then all that's left is the marketing plan and materials. And did y'all read the email announcement thing that I sent out? I want you guys to pretty much do a PowerPoint on our final day. Come in, dress nice. Give us a little presentation, tell us all about this whole thing that you put together. Don't make it 30 minutes. You know, we don't have time for everybody to do a 30-minute presentation, but about a 10-minute presentation would be nice, where you tell us about what you did. That will be another grade that I will throw on, and you should do well on, you know. I think it would be a good way to wrap up the class. You're not having to do a final exam that you're going through and doing a bunch of reading and studying for. Just slap, oh, I was making that sound way too nonchalant. Put together a nice PowerPoint presentation, dress nice, come in and share it with the class, and that will be our final. Okay, fair, good. I'm gonna change that due date and make those both due on the date of the budget. Okay? I will see you guys next Thursday. Everybody grab a test off of that desk right there on your way out. Y'all have a great day. Be safe, have a good weekend.